Still getting used to this, having to record everything. I don't have to. I want to. So, bachelor party was good. Got home at like 2 o'clock in the morning. A little bit about myself, I guess I could tell you guys is I don't drink, so I DD'd last night. Um, Super fun. My brother had a great time. Probably one of the. I know he told me last night's been the drunkest he's ever been in a long time. So it's all fun and games. I'm glad he had a good time. Hopefully he didn't get in trouble with his fiance, because that's how that you have fun, then you get in trouble. So we're gonna take the motor off the buggy, and we're gonna take the trans off the buggy today. And we're gonna put the trans on the buggy. And we're gonna put the motor back on the buggy, and then we'll figure out the linkage and everything else. So I don't want to leave this true time, even though true time would be cool. I don't want to leave true time because that's a lot of time and it's a lot of video. So I'm going to time lapse yet again because I am really liking the time lapse thing. Everybody gets the concept. The only downside is you don't get no talking. So I might do a little bit of voiceover with this video to explain some things as I'm doing it on the time lapse. So basically, every buggy's got a rear protection plate of some sort. That's what these back bars are. They bolt here and bolt underneath there. Then every bolt's like an air-cooled motor is held on with 4 bolts. 4 bolts are a flat bottom, so you can put a jack underneath the bottom if you ain't got but one person. And it goes out and straight down with it, and then the motor's out. Obviously, disconnecting gas lines and electrical and oil lines on this motor. On any other Volkswagen motor, like in the Bug, it's really not disconnecting oil lines. You just pull the oil filter housing with the motor, and it's not a big deal. But on this one, being that it's going to the sump tank and the oil cooler, we're not pulling those at the same time. So I'm going to grab a piece of line to go from one side to the other, gas lines, and the 2 electrical wires that come back here. Well, sorry, and then the alternator wires. And basically it's done. And then after that, it's just a few bolts for the trans, axles for the trans, which we can just take them from the trans, not from the whole buggy. So it's less bolts there too. And relatively easy. So we ought to be able to blow through this, hopefully, in the garage with the garage door shut, the fan inside, so that way it's blowing it in. This garage is insulated, but there's no air conditioning being supplied to the garage. There is right now. The door's open to the house. So we're going to get to it and go from there. So time lapse it is. If I notice anything crazy or something extra that I'm going to do or whatever the case may be, I'll stop it and talk to you guys. Other than that, like I said, I'm probably going to try to do a voiceover and try to figure that out, because quiet videos of just time lapse kind of I get is a little boring, but it's easy. So let's get to work. Does it start? All right, ladies and gents. I know that was time lapse, and it might be 3 minutes of time lapse. How that works? Um, I don't think that took me but 30 minutes, honestly. Um, they're easier in a buggy than a car. I've done it in the car a bunch of times too. The buggy, I can just get to the back of the motor without having to like lay on the ground or stuff. So if you can't tell, motor's out. Now I've got to take the starter off, axles out, front bolts here, back bolts there, trans is out. It's relatively easy. You know, the old lady was worried we weren't going to get it done this weekend because we got to go camping next weekend, and she doesn't realize that I'm just good like that. So, but yeah, no, it's really simple. There's a couple mounting bolts in the front of the trans. They mount it down to the trans mount. There's a couple mounting bolts in the back that mount to the back mounting bolt. or the back mounting back trans mount. Oh my goodness. Um, then your shift linkage, which is the reason this transmission's broke. Actually, I'm pretty certain it's in the tail, the nose cone of the tail, and that's why it's broke. So, bada bing, bada bang. This transmission's not trash by no means. It's still got a good case, and I plan on getting it rebuilt actually um, in the future. But for the time being, there's a whole nother trans right beside me, and that's how it's going to happen. So, yeah, still fighting the sinuses junk. But with no further ado, I'm going to pull the trans so I can start putting another trans in. I'd like to have it done today so that way I don't have to worry about it during the week. All right. Catch you guys in a little bit when I got the trans out. Keep on watching. Jack, what's this? The transmission? The part? Yeah. That's the transmission. Yeah, that's what makes the tires go around. That's what makes the tires go around. The motor spins the transmission, the transmission spins the tires, and then we go climbing hills. Oh. They didn't fall. We had that on purpose. It fell. Okay. You gonna try to help Daddy here in a minute? Huh? You want to help Daddy? We're gonna take the starter off, bud. Don't pull on that wire, Jack. Don't pull that wire on. No good. Starter. Yeah, good job, Bubba. Starter. You helping out, Bubba? Turn it. Oop, hold on. I dropped it. Mm-hmm. Good job. Watch out, Bubba. All right, dude. Dave's gonna pause the video. You say bye bye. Yeah, we got pause the video. Why? All right. Say bye bye. You pause. Uh oh. All right, guys. I have not put transmission in yet. I have been taking the linkage. The way it goes is it's got a shifter rod here and a bucket and a bowl, and the bottom of this is a ball, and it moves that rod. And somebody in the past welded this bucket steel right there. So I was going to try to take it out, but you can't. If you see right there, see the crack? That's cracked. And that's bad because that's like the main beam down the center of the buggy. So here in a second, I'm going to weld that as much as I physically can to put it back. Um, it's not even the main beam. Somebody, that's weird. All right, so you got an H right here, or one comes in, and they shoot across to here, and then one shoots back there, which is kind of stupid. That should have carried all the way back. Um, so that's probably where the issue's at because it's got double all the way up, and then it Y's up there. Don't worry about the steering stuff. That was another. If I could get to it today, I'd love to get a bunch of that weight out of there. But here in a second, I'm going to grab probably a stick and burn a stick in first, and then put a bunch of wire over top of it, just so I can burn a bunch of that junk out of there first. And then the bottom side's not even welded to that, so even better. Yep, I'm not gonna videotape welding because I'm not ruining my phone. But I will show. I don't even know if I'm going to show you guys the weld because they're probably going to be ugly. But they're going to be strong. Gorilla weld. Ugly, strong. So we'll see you guys in a few minutes when I'm putting the transmission back in after I figure a linkage out for shifting it based off that rod being welded. Now I've got to basically, I think I got to cut pieces and then weld pieces and make it work. So see you in a few. All right. Well, um, I'm not showing you any of that welding that I just did. Uh, Whatever somebody at some point in time brazed to that, but brazed to that is absolute like welding like pot metal. It just welds like junk and it just disappears as soon as you strike an arc on it. So I will tell you, the crack is gone, but you know, it's better than it was, and that's how I'm gonna leave it because it's junk. I'm gonna slide the trans in and start bolting it down. Uh, I'll figure the bushing out since I can't take it all the way apart, which is also really stupid. Somebody else was super smart when they did that. What I'm saying is, if you're going to build a buggy, don't weld everything you think doesn't need to move. Like that screws together, but someone welded it and then slid it through the front. Well, then when I mounted the cutting brakes, I mounted the cutting brakes in the front of it because that's where they mounted great. That's where they're usable. That's where it's going to work. Now it's blocking to pull the rod out of the front. So if that was just never welded, it ain't going to back out. There's no like lefty righty on there. That it moves a quarter of an inch to the right and quarter of an inch to the left. So it was never going to back off enough to do it. So don't weld everything solid every time on certain things. Like other things, sure, go ahead, weld them, right? Weld all your pipes. There's a lot of pipes on this buggy that are not welded, or tubes that are not welded. Mainly just the tree bars, which is fine. I don't care if those bend or break. I will make new ones. I think these ones are kind of ugly because they were repurposed off another buggy and put on this one to make work. So it's not correct. Nonetheless, trans is going back in. So trans, axles, starter, battery, motor, blah, blah, blah. And then I should be able to basically reach back, put it in first gear by hand, and pull it out of the garage if I wanted to. But I want to get to where I can shift gears, drive it down the road. So, bada bing, bada bang, time lapse. We're doing it again. Now you can watch me stick this in. Yeah, bud. Yeah, buddy. So I don't know if I showed where I moved the mount, the rear mount. Took the factory one off and put this mount on that's on the buggy. It's made for the buggy. On it or not. And just like that, transmission is set in place. It's working on buggies is not all the hardest, and it doesn't take all that much mechanical knowledge, but it takes more mechanical knowledge than a razor. And a bunch of guys, I'm not trying to talk any junk about razors. I'm talking bone stock razors, not tube chassis. I'm talking about the guys that are just going out and driving main trail like it's a road. Those guys, they just get in it and drive, which is fine. Once you get into hill climbing buggies or hill climbing razors, race razors, stuff that you're going to get crazy with, mechanically inclined people need to own them. I'm not saying anything bad about the razor guys because some of those guys out there are freaking nuts, and I'd love to ride with them because it'd be fun and cool. So basically, I'm going to tighten down the back first, and then tighten down these 4 bolts, and then I want to hook the motor up before putting the starter, and the only reason why is this motor bolt, which is also the starter bolt right here, the original starter bolt with the adapter, makes it to where it's an encapsulated nut once you put the starter on, or encapsulated bolt once you put the starter on, and instead of having to fight that later to get it correct or lined back up, I'd rather not have to fight it. So I think that's where I'm going to start the time lapse after I find out where all my 2-year-old put all my tools. and go from there. So I will time lapse. It shouldn't actual time shouldn't be but like 45 minutes to maybe do all this, maybe an hour. Who knows? I'm not really been paying attention to time. So all right, I appreciate it. It started. All right. So the funny part of the time lapse you guys just seen, where all of us were standing minus Jack, all of us were standing on the buggy, was to the suspension's maxed, absolutely maxed out without any motor weight. So this axle is a tiny bit shorter than this axle, and that could just be for manufacturing. But the CVs didn't want to get all the way up to where the CV bolts could start in the trans drive flange. So we had to compress the suspension a little bit, and her 100-pound self and the 40-pound child didn't do it. So that's why I'm sitting on the back bar and turning wrenches down there. I've got a couple of them started. I'm going to start a couple more, and then we can get all the weight off. But I think it's funny the ingenuity that comes into things like this that other people may not have thought of, or if they think of, nobody else is getting to watch it. So they, at least somebody else is getting to laugh about it, or may laugh about it. So, uh, yeah, I'm just gonna keep. I'm run this one in, and I think that's the top ones, which are the furthest out to get, and then I should be good to get off of here. And same with her, and go from there. Anybody else take note that she's wearing a hoodie and I'm in a cutoff? Women. It's not cold. If you just weren't sitting there doing nothing. All right, you can go stop the video. You want to turn it back on time lapse? Yeah. I wish I could like flip. Why don't you take the tire down? All right, now that I've spent however long the time lapses and everything else is flashing everybody with my cutoff, you're welcome. Uh, Motor's back on. Literally everything's hooked back up. The only thing that's not back together is the skid plate's not on. And I'm not going to slide the skid plate on until I can drive drive it down the road and make sure that trans has got all 4 gears to include reverse. Uh, so as soon as I know that it's got all 4 gears to include reverse, I'll slide the skid plate on. And I'd love to take all the extra weight from the metal that somebody, quote unquote, welded on the front to hold the steering in place. I'd love to address that before we go. That way it's a little less nose divey. If it bounces, it'll bounce up a little bit. Then it'll be a little bit more driver um, requirement to keep it from trying to roll all the way backwards. But something I haven't showed anybody because I meant to and I didn't. I threw a muffler, slip-on universal muffler off Amazon on here. That way the idea of having to yell at the person beside you is pretty much gone. Uh, it's not gone all the way. It's still loud. I mean, it's like a foot of pipe and then a muffler, so it's really not all that quiet, but it's quieter than what it was without the muffler. And that was the point of getting it. So I'm going to figure out how I want to hook this linkage up, put the shifter and stuff back together, make sure I can shift all 4 gears, um, and then probably take it up the road and back to see how it goes. Crack a cold one and enjoy it. It's a Mountain Dew. I don't drink. So we'll see. Thanks for watching. All right. So We had to run to Tractor Supply. Ended up only getting one thing from Tractor Supply to do the linkage for the transmission, and I got other stuff from Dad because always got something hanging around. Basically, what we got going on now is these are tie rod ends off of a golf cart or a go kart. So I've got a 1/2 inch all thread, which is what's in the rod for the shift rod, and then this right here is the tie rod end. The tie rod end, we're going to take this carriage bolt and I'm going to cut it off and I'll put a bolt on each side, right? So basically now the shift linkage is going to have any and all kind of adjustment there, along with the bushings on the transmission itself, so it's not hard impacting the transmission. That's how I broke the last one, and I'm not sure if it's all the way broke or if it's just kind of funky. So I'm not tossing it away. I'm not going to sell it. I'm going to try and rebuild it or have it rebuilt and built good. So basically, now I'm going to turn my drill into a lathe and grind the end of this down until I can slip it in here. Once it slips in here, then I'm going to weld it together, find out how long I need it, cut it, and then thread it into there. And then all I got to do is run the all thread through, tighten them down, and I'm done with the buggy trans swap. And then I don't even see a point in videotaping the skid plate install or deinstall or install. So I'm going to do this on time lapse so you guys don't have to listen to the grinder, that, and I don't have to worry about talking to you guys the whole time or not. If it works, I'll be taking the buggy for a little test drive down the road and back. If it doesn't work, then I'll be getting the buggy out of the garage and putting everything away for the work week. It's Sunday. I like to do nothing towards the end of the day Sunday. It's 6 o'clock. We haven't had dinner yet. So I'm going to try to work on this. We just got back from the store in Dad's house. So I'm going to work on lathing this to go fit in that. Time lapse it is. Here we go. All right, ladies and gents. Um, so buggy drives. Buggy's got all the gears. The buggy just got pulled back to the house because I broke it. I broke a CV. Remember that time that I jacked the buggy up and said it's gonna break CVs before it breaks anything else? Well, it just broke this CV. The CV's outer CV's busted. So nothing but a thing. I got a whole nother axle. I'll just take the CV off of it as long as this axle shaft ain't messed up. I'll slide the CV on it. Then I'll take the other CV with us to Turkey Bay Saturday, Friday. So in case I break it again, I can replace one more CV before we ain't got no more CVs. What if you look? See how that CV ain't turning? That's broke. If you look, when I roll this one, see how that CV turns? That's not broke. So we're gonna move the car and put it back in our resting broke spot right there because it won't drive. That's an open diff. They don't drive when they break CVs. So I'll let you know when I fix the CV.